So today we are on, this is a 2015 Tacoma double cab, and we are doing a TE Designs weld it yourself cage kit. There's most of the pieces there. So what I'm doing today, I'll just step you guys through one. Grab a tube out of the pile, bring it to the table, and these tubes are notched on a CNC tube plasma machine, and so it has all this dross on the inside, and that is nasty stuff. We do not want that melting into our weld puddle. So what we're doing, taking this guy, clean the inside out there, wipe the whole tube down with lacquer thinner to get all the gunk off of it, and then we'll prep the ends. And TE Designs does a really cool thing where they have a little etch mark, and I don't know if this tube has any on it. There we go. And then I'm taking a Sharpie and I'm putting a little X where every tube landing is etched. Right? So we get those cleaned up and we take it to the belt sander, and it comes out looking like this. And this is the pile of all the stuff I've done. Yeah, so that's what the tubes look like when I'm done with them, and those are ready to go in the truck. Of course, everywhere a tube lands, I will hand sand once I get the tube located in the truck, and drill an 1/8 inch hole everywhere there's an X to vent the tube so we don't have blowouts when we go to welding. So I think I'm gonna set up the GoPro over here some way and do a time lapse of me doing all of these tubes. 5 checks. All right, YouTube, this is day 5 of sanding tubes. Nah, I'm just playing. It's been 3-4 hours of prepping tubes, and I have checked off every single tube on the list. So everything's here and everything looks good. It's all prepped and ready to go in the truck. So I had the glass guy here today. He cut the front and rear windshields out, and next up is to start punching through the floor and start tacking some tubes in. So I'll get back with another update once I make a little more progress. All right, another update for you guys. Got all the roof tubes clicked together. A-pillars are trimmed in, located. We are now locating the vertical tubes. This has been a little bit of a learning curve for me. I've done some cage kits, but nothing this serious, and this is definitely the nicest cage kit I've ever done before. Learning experience, because we're kind of taking a shape that exists and another shape that exists and putting them together, and the process of that is quite a bit different than, you know, building a custom cage where you're kind of building a shape that doesn't exist yet into a shape that already exists. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way it works in my mind anyways. If I were custom building this cage, I would you know, I'd build each tube to fit in its spot rather than having to fit each spot for something that's already built. I think that makes sense. But here's what we're working on right now. It's Monday. I think it's 9 a.m. right now. I've been just peeling away at some of this kill mat, getting this last hole opened up in the cab floor for this tube to go in there, and I'll get that tube in there. I'm gonna use my finger and point here. Make sure those guys are squared away and land in the right spot. I'm gonna end up having to trim the top of this leaf spring hanger off to make a spot for that tube to land. I'm trying to figure out if I can drop this cage to weld the top. It seems as simple as just dropping the outrigger tube out of the way, and the whole thing will fall down. But like, for example, the dash bar, if you can see the engraved spot for it right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but where it wants to go is just above the AC here, and which means we're not going to be able to get the dash bar in and drop the cage. So I'm not sure how I'm supposed to get a weld around the front of the dash bar there. I really don't want to do a whole lot of trying to drop the cage. I think it would be about the same amount of work for me as somebody who's not scared to cut the top off than just cutting here, and here, and removing the top of the cab to access all these welds. That way I could theoretically lift the cage up to get to the dash bar. But I'm gonna keep going as far as I can without dropping it or raising it or chopping the top, and just see how things line up, and see what options I'm left with by the time I get everything located. A little easier with two hands, but yeah, we are back on this cage job, charging hard into the week. We got through this weekend, didn't get much progress done. I mean, we almost didn't do anything you know, work-wise this weekend, because we went out to that Domo event, which the video's up on the YouTube channel now. By the time you're seeing this, you will have already scrolled past that video, but the Domo this weekend was awesome. You know, we spent months, me and Heather is who I'm calling we spent months prepping on that truck. She helped me do a lot on that truck, and we got it all painted up, put together, and took it out to Domo this weekend and made a bunch of laps and had almost no problems. The only issue we found all weekend was it needs more tranny cooler, and that's just awesome to prep on the truck and just have virtually no issues. It was fantastic, and looking forward to helping my customers get out there and go play with their trucks as well. So we're gonna charge hard this week on this, and and try to hurry up and get this thing ready to go for our customer so he can get back in the dirt and go to playing like we did this weekend. All right, we have all the rear firewall tubes clicked in. I spent most of the day locating these guys permanently. Just you know, moving things around to make the next tube land in the right spot, keeping 2 or 3 tubes ahead, ready to click in to verify before tacking and things like that. I ended up figuring out that this rear firewall brace structure piece of the cab had to go. Got a little win right here. That's gonna be able to just weld back to the tube to reinforce the rear. I think we're past the point of no return on some options, like for dropping the cage, obviously, because I'm welding under, you know, this tube's welded here, this tube's welded here, just to get the welds in there before I cover it up with the next tube. And doing that everywhere that I can. There's some places you just simply can't avoid it. But so yeah, the plan is going to be cut the top of the cab off, and then raise the cage up to, you know, I will you know, cut the cab right here at this line, and then raise the cage up enough after the top of the cab's out of the way to expose these welds. I think this should be enough to raise the cage up here, and then I'll be able to work back here to get these welded. But I think I can just get away with only removing this here. I could probably cut it like right there, honestly, and then this tube will slide up past it, and I'll leave this centerpiece here, and when we go back down with the cage, this will be the support for the rear firewall there, and we'll weld this back in here to connect the firewall to the cage so that we don't have a bunch of rattling and squeaking and shaky cab business going on. Of course, we're going to be bracing in everything, tying into the cab, but trying to work around details like that so that when everything goes back together, it's you know, nice and sturdy. So this tube's not landing in the right spot, which means it's like this is too high, even though we have it lined up on the money right there. That's where it wants to be.
You mean to hold this thing while you grab the other side and make
The safety box set it. Yeah, that looks good. Now we need some venting. We gotta lay a weld right here before we click that tube in. .120 wall. ready to come off. Lift up just the littlest bit in the front. If you go too far, it'll point the rear corner down and it won't be able to move. Right, so we're just going to barely support this like that much straight up, right? Then we're going to have to slide back probably an inch, inch and a half where the tubes come through the back here, unhook it. And also if we go too high in the front, it's going to bind here and it's not going to go back. So we got to kind of probably wiggle a little bit and work it back to unhook it, and then we'll be able to just kind of pick up. That's it. And now we let it go forward. Thanks for your help, babe.
Yeah.
There it is. Said he wanted a convertible. Beautiful. There are the first two welds. We are root passing today. I'm sure it'll take me most of the day to just get everything burned in the first time. Everything that I can, leaving the bottom free to raise the cage up to expose welds like this guy back here. But yeah, that's what we're doing today, is just a bunch of welding. I'll set up a time lapse and so you guys can see a lot of the process. This is what we're working with today. Trusty old Synchrowave 200. I've built a ton of vehicles with this machine. We are laying down root passes at 150 amps, pulsed at 0.8 pulses per second. I know a lot of you welder guys are gonna be like, oh, what a pussy, he's welding, he's pulse welding, but that's just the way that we do chassis. The chassis shop I worked at, we left the machines on pulse pretty much all the time. Keeps the heat down while you're welding, gives you a more slow, consistent pace to build your puddle in. That's just the way we do it. I absolutely can raw dog welds. I just prefer to pulse. So if you guys see a bunch of pulsing in this video, don't unsubscribe. But yeah, here we go. Time lapse time and go. that's a wrap for part 1 on this video series, guys. The customer came by this weekend and brought me the matching engine cage kit for this truck. So we will be moving forward to the firewall probably in the next video. But we still have to drop the cage back down, finalize the outrigger tubes and weld those out. Get the cage all painted up. I've got some alloy armor on the way, all before the top of the cab goes back on, and then you know, weld that back out and Bondo it in. He wants to notch the cab for tire clearance and fix all this hammered up stuff. Right now we're just welding out the stuff that's on bottom that we wouldn't be able to access with the cage in place. I've already been welding on the truck for a cumulative probably 4 days, and there's probably 1 more left in the cover pass welding. Everything on top. I just want to get the cage put back down and tacked to the frame, get the outrigger tubes finalized before I just fully weld everything. So what I want to do is get the dash and everything fit back up and finalized and put back together so that I can drive the truck around to the lift bay back there and get the truck in the air so that we're not working on the ground when we're notching the corner of the cab post there. While we're up front doing the TE engine cage kit, we'll be hanging all the engine bay accessories off the tube work, tabbing everything out, getting rid of the stock radiator support. All that sheet metal is going to be gone. Mounting a aftermarket radiator setup along with the OEM AC condenser, and the headlights and the grill and everything off of all the tube work. So everything's going to be tubed out in the front. You'll have to tune in to part 2 to see that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment on this video. Let me know what you want to see in part 2, what you want to see more of, and what you want to see less of. Help me make these videos interesting for you guys. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Like this video, comment below, subscribe to see the next one.